Good morning, everyone. So today is the day after my daughter's sentencing for her murder. I did not make a public statement yesterday. I did not go to court yesterday. Most people would think of that as crazy, but let me explain why. The news has said that we have agreed to the 2-year charges that my daughter's murder has been given, and the 8 years probation. But let me explain the reasoning behind that statement. So last week, I was actually given all of this information. And the DA explained to me that if I were to show up at court yesterday and present it to the judge, that there would be a possibility of Donovan having this entire murder removed from his record after he does his time served. In addition, his time could have been reduced to less time than the 2 years and 1 month that he was given and the 8 years probation. I could not stand in front of the court yesterday because anything less than that 8 years probation that he has to serve would put Denzel under 18 years old. I have to make sure that Denzel is protected. Therefore, those 8 years protect him until he is 18 and he is in my care that entire time. And I was not willing to wager that against anything. The reason for the low sentence is due to the fact that Donovan, again, lied, which from the very beginning has been what has happened, and everybody knows that. And according to him, said it was an accidental sexual act of choking. They disregard the fact that he had a bag and tape in the bathroom, drug my daughter to the shower, taped up her head and bagged it up, that he went and ate lunch in another room. They disregard all of that and still consider it an accident and only gave him 2 years. Our family is disgusted by this decision. We feel so wronged by the system. It took me so long to fight for this justice, and I would do it all again because I have Denzel here with me and he is safe. I did not get an opportunity yesterday to read her victim advocate statement because I wanted to make it public. So this is what it says, and I'm going to read it just as I wrote it for the courts before I found out about her sentence. July 29th, 2023 was a day I will never forget. A piece of my soul was taken from this earth, from her children, from her family and friends, and from her future plans. I didn't get to look in April's eyes that day to see her pain. I didn't get to rescue her. The questions of, did she suffer? Was she scared her last moments of life? Did she fight for her life? And did she cry will always haunt my mind. Her eyes' last vision was looking into the eyes of the man who took her hand in marriage and promised to protect her and love her. The man she loved, and the hands that she held feeling comforted in the end were the same hands that wrapped around her neck, taking her life away. The courts like to see this as an act of reckless homicide. After her breath was taken from her, she was treated as a piece of garbage. And that's what destroys me to the core. She was drugged to the shower and a garbage bag was placed over her head and then taped. Donovan then proceeded to go into the next room and eat lunch with their 7-year-old son, who he then sent in the bathroom to find his mother dead lying there on the floor. The mindset is that of someone who has a mental illness. The mindset is not of reckless homicide, but rather a premeditated act of murder. This was not an accidental death. The actions that took place after April was no longer breathing were intentional and deliberate. He staged April's death as a suicide. He had a bag and tape ready and prepared, where no person would think to wrap up their spouse's head and tape the bag if their partner, who they claimed to love, was not breathing. In a sexual act, a partner would make all attempts to rescue their spouse. The lies began the second the 911 call was made, and the procedures that followed were nothing short of irradical. April was born into this world as a gift from God to me, her mother. I watched her grow up into the beautiful, amazing, loving woman she had become. She loved and adored her 2 children and often talked about how excited she was for their futures. She spoke about how she was looking forward to buying a home within the next year, opening a training studio to teach others to do lashes, foster children, and continue to grow in youth ministry leadership roles. April was as soft as a feather, floating to the ground with such ease and calmness. April was a friend to all and even wore her smile when I knew she didn't want to. April was the first of what our family calls the first six, which are the first 6 grandkids who were raised so close together that they were like siblings. All of that was taken from her and from us. She didn't ask to die. She did not take her own life. Like Donovan told many people, including her children, this lie was thought to be true by so many people for almost a year. So many people thought April was that sad, and none of us even were aware. I knew in my heart that is not what happened, and Donovan met me each week with months to exchange Denzel and looked me in my eyes, knowing what he had done to my daughter. Knowing that I was fighting for justice, knowing he sent his 7-year-old son in that bathroom that day to find his mom dead on the floor. We have experienced every parent's worst nightmare. We live with this pain for the rest of our lives and a hole in our hearts that can never be filled. There will always be an empty chair at the table and at all of life's milestones that her children reach. This was all taken by the hands of another human being who has been given charges as if he simply made a mistake. It was not a mistake to lie about what happened. It was not a mistake to treat April like a piece of garbage. It was not a mistake to send Denzel in the bathroom, traumatizing him forever. It was not a mistake to tamper with evidence. It was not a mistake to falsify a report. This was intentional homicide of an innocent person. I am a Christian woman with faith that I didn't even know I had. Through this tragedy in my life, I have found that I am much stronger than I ever thought. I won't walk around with an anger that strips me of the person I've been created to be. I will walk in the spirit and not the flesh, raising April's 2 children, Serenity and Denzel, to have loving hearts. They will carry their memories of their mom and them always, and we will channel our energy of missing her into giving back just like she would want us to. We have a grief center opened, which now we don't, but we have Grieve With Me still, the nonprofit. I pray that Donovan asks for true forgiveness for his actions. I pray for eternity with Christ because I can't imagine the alternative. As I read this statement, there are simply just words. These are simply just words to everybody. This is part of a procedure for sentencing and considered to be a privilege to read a letter. You allow me to say a few last words to the courts and the murderer of my daughter. To me, this was my flesh and blood. This was not just a file for your filing cabinet like it has been treated since day one. This was my child. This is not just another number in the log of how many homicides happened this past year. This was the mother of my grandchildren. April Holt was a person. April Holt was a case that I pray makes an impact to the entire justice system of all the wrongs that happened in her investigation, and that through these mistakes, changes are made. I will make it my mission as her mother to get policies and procedures changed so that no family has to endure grieving while investigating their own child's case because the system failed them and refused to listen or see the facts presented to them numerous times. When you hear the name April Holt from this point forward, hear an echo of the change that is to come. We all stand before God one day and take account for our actions and lack thereof. The justice system was intended to protect and serve, and I tell my grandkids that there are 2 justices, one on earth and one in heaven. So just know that whatever is seen or heard here is seen and heard there as well. And each person in uniform will stand on this side of the podium answering to a much higher calling one day. And that is my public victim advocate statement. And I hope that it goes worldwide and that changes and policies are made. If you would like to look into my daughter's case further to make changes in policies in the county with where you live or with the legal systems that are around you, please reach out to me. I'm only about to do positive changes. I am not about living in the past from this point forward. I will raise Serenity and Denzel, and I will not let what has happened determine their future or mine. April will live on through all of us and through our actions.